I'm here with Mark T Hofmann, who is an independent cyber researcher and author. Have you written any
Uh,
books? Or?
Not yet. So I would say crime and intelligence analyst, and mainly focused on the aspects of behavioral and cyber profiling, and talking a lot about these topics all around the world. Yeah.
How did you get into this?
Well, basically, all my life I was interested in human psychology, but of course, at first it was not cyber psychology; it was just like normal psychology. Then I studied business psychology, and I got involved into crime and intelligence analysis. So my focus in the beginning was behavioral profiling, so classical criminal profiling, so to say, at real physical crime scenes. But at one point, I realized that the very smart offenders and perpetrators cannot be found in the real world, they can be found in cyberspace. So the real masterminds are not serial killers and they're not rapists, they are hackers. So right now, this group of criminals, hackers, are for me the most fascinating because their intellect is the most challenging and they are definitely the most fascinating offenders. Yeah.
So, in your talk that you gave earlier today, you said you made mention of what you say like it's kind of like a linguistic fingerprint,
Yes.
ideolect. Is that what you call it?
Right.
And um, so 90% of these attackers are, 90% are males, hackers.
Well,
Or better,
yes.
better question is, have you ever come across a woman hacker? Or,
Yes, I did,
okay.
and they become more. But we can also see in the cybersecurity world, on the good side
Exactly.
of things,
It mirrors it.
what is like the number of male-female ratio in that room right here at the conference? I would say it's at least 80-20,
I
but
was
it
going to say
might be
that.
90-10.
Yeah.
So basically, we can see the same ratio amongst criminals. It's mainly a main phenomenon, but there are more and more females getting engaged into these kind of topics. And I don't know if this is a good sign or a bad sign because inside crime we don't talk that much about quotas. There shouldn't be female quotas for hackers because there shouldn't be hackers at all. So I don't want to say that that's a good thing, but yes, it's getting more females, so to say.
And how does that thing work? I mean, how can it? You use that program, Gender Guesser, so it can guess the. How does it do that?
Right, at this point of time in the business world, we talk a lot about the threats and the danger of artificial intelligence. So we talk about how hackers use ChatGPT to attack companies. We talk about deepfake technology, and I also made some examples in my keynote speech how deep voice or deepfake videos can be used by hackers to trick people into believing that this is the CEO asking them to transfer money or whatever. So we talk a lot about the dark side of AI. But I think that artificial intelligence is also a chance for cybersecurity professionals to catch hackers, to get one ahead. So we can also use this technology to fight against cybercrime. And the analysis of language is just one example of how cyber profiling works. So everybody knows what a dialect is. A dialect is just a regional difference in the way we use language. But there was a lot of research going on about the so-called idiolect or forensic linguistics. So basically, the two of us, we do not just have a different dialect, but we also have a different idiolect, which is something like a personal dialect, so to say. So the length of your sentences, the mistakes you make, the words you use. If the verb is most of the time in the beginning or in the end of your sentence, also interpunction, what kind of emojis you use in written communication. This is like your very personal idiolect. And think about it. Think about the concept, a linguistic fingerprint or linguistic DNA. Does something like this exist? And the answer is yes, but it depends on the mass or number of data points you have. So if I just write you a phishing email with 5 sentences, this might be too less information to really make a good linguistic profile. But if you have 10,541 emails from me, you might be able to really identify my very personal linguistic fingerprint. And in the future, it might be possible for police or intelligence agencies to identify people based on manifestos or based on anonymous posts on forums. It might be able to identify people if you have enough data. So this is quite interesting stuff, how artificial intelligence can be used to catch hackers by identifying their linguistic fingerprint. Yeah.
So they haven't done it yet. I mean, I know they'll be able to find out. You can basically find out where the hackers are based at the moment using these basic, how spelling of names and way of speaking. So, and the language, obviously. So then we can. But that's as far as we've got, right?
Well, it does not sound as much, but sometimes it's better than nothing. If
Yeah.
you know if it's an individual or a group of people, if you know if the attack is coming maybe from North Korea, from Russia, from China, or wherever it
One
may
of the
come
usual
from.
suspects.
So having like the origin, the size of the group, and maybe identifying other attacks which also have been done by this group, it's better than nothing, and
Yeah.
it can help to get one step closer. But I don't want to lie, catching hackers is much more difficult than catching criminals in the real world, because there is no physical evidence, so to say. There are no fingerprints, there is no DNA, there's nothing you can rely on in cyberspace, so it's much more difficult. But I'm an optimist, and I think we should. It's better than nothing, yes. And Gender Guesser, you mentioned this tool. It's an artificial intelligence which is able to find out your gender based on as few as like 30 words or something. So you just type in something like, "Hi, how are you doing? Do you want to have a tea tonight?" And it says 90% male. And I'm pretty amazed, because me as a profiling expert, if you give me 30 words and ask me a question, where does this person come from, how old, and what's the gender? If it's just 30 words, like, "Hi, how are you doing? Should we have a beer tonight?" Well, maybe the beer would be an indicator for male. There's a higher probability. But besides that, I'm not able to tell anything. But artificial intelligence is able to tell quite a lot based on very few information. And that makes me optimistic that linguistic profiling will become a real tool to fight against cybercrime in the future.
I mean, just on that, I would say that in my limited experience, I would say that most of the people in cyber are optimists. Would you agree with that?
Well,
I'm a pessimist.
You're right.
I think that, I suppose there's as much of a case as there is for optimism, there is as much a case for pessimism. It's from where I'm sitting. It's as you said, it's not a question of if, but when you get breached.
Right. So definitely, there are two types of companies that have been attacked and companies that will be attacked.
Yeah.
So there will be people trying to attack you. The only question is, how good prepared are you when people try to do it? Will they be successful? And if they are successful, how fast will you be back to business? How good prepared are you? But of course, there's always something we can do. So the question is, cybercrime is now out there, but what's the solution? As a keynote speaker, I always try to encourage companies that digitization or digitalization is very important, because what should we do? Should we go back to pen and paper? This can't be the solution. I always say, even if it sounds quite hard, but I always say, if you don't digitize your business because you're scared of cybercrime, basically this is pretty much like killing yourself because you are afraid of being murdered. So if you don't digitalize and invest in digital tools right now, probably in the year 2030, you won't play a role anymore. So of course we need these digital tools, we need cloud technology and all that stuff, but at the same time we need to find a balance between technology and cybersecurity. But I'm optimistic that it's possible to build a technical firewall and also a human firewall inside a company to be as safe as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. On the human firewall business, that is, maybe you could just explain that a bit more. Is this basically it's rooted in staff training, staff awareness, and for the whole company, led by management, endorsed by management. It just takes one click, though, man.
Right. So yes, basically it's all about awareness. So building this human firewall means training employees and building up the awareness. Pretty often, and I said this in my speech at these conferences, there are experts talking to experts about expert topics. That's fine. But in the end, who's clicking these links? It's the intern, it's the receptionist. These are normal people who, quite frankly, give a shit about cybersecurity. And that's important that we understand that our target group, the normal employee, these are people who don't care that much about cybersecurity. They are not interested. They are not fascinated by these topics. So I think we really should make cybersecurity as entertaining as possible to really reach and inspire people. Many IT departments send a weekly cyber update, but it's pretty boring. It's just a sheet of paper, and it's really boring. The layout, no pictures, it's boring, and people don't read it. And if people don't read it, then it's a waste of everybody's time. So making videos, making it more inspiring is the only way to reach normal people. And awareness, it sounds like a buzzword, but it can really be the key to prevent very serious attacks. Let me give you an example with deepfake technology. I talked about, I mean, for the audience watching right now, how do you know that you're seeing us? You only have two data points. You're seeing us and you're hearing us. But the technology of deepfakes has become so extremely good that you can't be sure anymore. So right now you can't be sure that it's me talking to you, because seeing and hearing in a video is not enough evidence, because right now you can make excellent deepfakes based on just 1 minute of somebody's voice.
Yeah.
But what can you do against it? It sounds pretty, I mean, we can't believe our own eyes. This sounds scary. Like, everybody can pretend this is the CEO with the real CEO's voice and say, please transfer money. What can we do against it? Very simple, ask questions.
Yeah.
And I also said this on stage. If my girlfriend would be calling me from a foreign number, telling me, Mark, I have been robbed, or honey, I have been robbed, you need to send me $2,000 immediately.
Yeah.
I would say, no problem, honey, but first I will ask 2 security questions. We really got to this point where we should ask questions or agree on a code word inside families. So basically, deepfake is a concerning technology, but it's so easy to tackle or to fight against it. Just ask questions that only that person would be able to answer. So if the fake CEO is calling and telling with a real voice, you should make this transfer, it's very urgent, you need to do it right now, no questions, I trust only you in this company, so don't talk to anybody about it. I would say, all right, sir, I will definitely make this transaction, but first I want to ask 2 security questions. Yesterday we went to a meeting. There were 4 people in this room. Please give me the name of at least 3 of these people.
Okay.
And an attacker which cloned the voice with a perfect plan will have a hard time in answering these kind of questions. So it's so easy to fight against it, and the only question is this person aware or not? Because if you never heard of a deepfake, hearing somebody's voice will immediately convince you.
Sure.
But if you heard a couple of speeches about deepfakes over and over and over again, showing you what deepfakes can do, what deep voice technology can do, if then a foreign number is calling you, telling you, hi honey, it's me, well, probably before you are in panic, you should maybe call the real number. Like if your mom or your girlfriend is calling, call the real number. And probably they will tell you, no, today we didn't talk to each other. So it's pretty easy to find out the truth, but you need to be aware,
So, I mean, has a deepfake, there was an example in another slide, in another talk about fake attack on the Pentagon with smoke and flames.
Yeah.
You're not aware of an actual real life event, right? This is just theoretical.
With deepfake technology, I am. So in Dubai, there's one case which is
maybe in Dubai.
The biggest right now.
Yeah.
I work quite a lot in the United Arab Emirates and in Germany. So I'm based in Berlin and Abu Dhabi. And in Dubai, there has been a case where the voice of one bank director has been cloned, and an employee in that bank has been manipulated with deep voice technology. So they cloned the voice of the bank director, and they advised another employee to make a transfer of $35 million. So this is like the biggest bank robbery in the world. And it didn't happen with guns or weapons physically, it happened with deep voice technology, and that's pretty amazing. But at this point of time, it's not that common. But I'm quite happy to get one ahead. So this is a time where I can give people like an idea what social engineering will look like in 3 or 5 years. So I'm quite happy that it didn't happen yet too much. But there has been cases also in the Ukrainian war There's been a deepfake video of Zelensky calling the Ukrainians to
Yep.
lay down the weapons
That's
and to
right.
surrender. So there has been very serious incidents. And let me make this prediction: if there is an election between Biden and Trump next year, it will be very ugly. It will be ugly because a lot of deepfakes will be spreaded on TikTok from both sides.
Yeah.
And we will have a hard time telling if something is true or not.
Okay, well, that's a good prediction, and I can see how that's going to happen. It's also kind of interesting to me how the war has been playing out in Ukraine, and how technologically advanced the Ukrainians are. They're obviously getting a lot of help.
Right.
I mean, this is the first war that's getting fought by a drone, as far as I can see. But it's also seeming. Have you heard anything about cyber in that conflict?
Absolutely. Cyber incidents are going up, and there has been even German, how's it called, wind power plants have been hit by a cyber attack.
It was
So
early. It was
basically,
early on. Yeah.
the software controlling these machines has been hit, but many people say this was a coincidence. So the target was not these German wind power plant things. The target was basically satellite or the communication system used by the Ukrainian army. But frankly, this system controls like different things all over the world. So Germany was more like a coincidence because the main target was Ukrainian communication. So this is also happening in space and in cyberspace, and there are a lot of incidents where it's, in many cases, it's not proven that it came from Russia, but you see incidents or attacks on critical infrastructure going up, and it's quite likely, many institutions say that it's quite likely that Russia or other parties are involved. So of course it has become a political, in a political conflict like this, also the cyber incidents go up. Yeah.
I think we know we're almost out of time, but what's the cyber landscape looking like in Germany?
Well, of course there are a lot of threats, and there are also a lot of excellent companies in the private sector. But let me tell you this, from the government side or as a country, I don't think that Germany is in cybersecurity as excellent as we have been in other areas, like building cars or having great engineers. So I'm a little bit sad because Germany has brilliant minds. But at this point of time, I really think we are missing the train, and other countries are much more ahead of these topics. So why am I moving more and more from Berlin to Abu Dhabi? Because the United Arab Emirates right now for cybersecurity professionals provide, in my personal opinion, a better environment to develop these skills and stuff. I mean, Italy banned ChatGPT. This is how parts of Europe deal with artificial intelligence, and Germany or Europe as a whole is discussing about how can we ban artificial intelligence. And this is naive because every single other country in the world will be developing and using this technology, and it might be that Germany or Europe might be the lonely place that tries to forbid artificial intelligence. These are some developments which I think are wrong, but that's my personal opinion, and if people disagree, that's fine, but in my opinion, it's the wrong way to try to forbid artificial intelligence. Yeah,
it's a terrible idea, in my view. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah. Even though there are threats, and Altman is also warning about the end of humankind, so to say. So these are very serious threats, but the idea of forbidding it in one country, that's naive.
Yeah. Mark, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.